This vanity was a hot mess. It was falling apart. I thought when I saw the picture that it looked pretty good. I saw that there were some pieces of veneer that had been missing, but not until I got it home did I realize how rickety it was. It was falling apart here. It was barely stuck together, and so we had to do a lot of work. And then once I got started, I realized that the veneer had to go. I normally don't like to do that because I like to see that it's been aged and worn and used well. I use this embossing medium as a kind of spackle to fill in the spots where the veneer had broken off, and also to hide the detail of the front drawer. And I love that look, and I did leave some of that. So here it is. I wanted a front drawer that was flat without the detail. And then I had to go back and put a little bit of the actual spackle to just fill it in a little bit more because I just didn't do a good job the first time around. But that's okay. Sometimes it's trial and error. Sometimes it's just a process to get to the point where you can paint. So I just had to let it dry, and then I took my orbital sander and I sanded it down. I touched it to make sure that it was smooth, and then I kept on going and I did all the drawers and the front as well. There were parts of the veneer that I just couldn't get off, and so I just decided to sand it as flat as I possibly could so that it wouldn't be able to be distinguished. And I knew that I was going to have to paint this a little bit differently because of the texture that it was probably going to leave. So this is what it looked like after I had sanded everything down, and the top part is pretty flat. I went ahead and started my first layer of painting. I always have my fine mist sprayer. I grabbed several colors. I just put dabs of color in a cardboard box, and I used the backs of the IOD transfers to put the paint on it. I used Cowgirl Coral, Petticoat Pink, Summer Crush, Carnival Red, and a little bit of white. And I just started painting the side. Experimenting. I wasn't really sure what I was doing, but I knew that I wanted some type of an ombre blended look. Right here I'm using the Paint Pixie blending brush. They are really my go-to brushes, and the DIY paint version, the blending brush, it's synthetic. It's the same exact brush as the Paint Pixie, but it just makes great work, and it makes it super fast. I absolutely love the way that it looked. Then I went ahead and I took some weathered wood on the bottom because I really wanted it to look darker on the bottom. The weathered wood blended with the colors that I'd chosen gave it a purple look, which I was really digging. So I started working on the front, and I worked my way up until the top with it being pink. And I realized I had a problem. Actually, I had several problems. The top was bleeding, and the side and the drawers, you could actually see the spackle coming through. So I had to sand it back down and start over. And then I used Salvation Solution on the top to prevent it from bleeding any further. You see the burn marks? They came through from the heat gun. Sometimes that happens. It's trial and error, and you just have to play with it and go with the flow and just do your best. And so I had to rework my plan, and I started with the dark on the top and the light on the bottom. Here you can see that I'm stippling it because I want to add texture. But I knew that I was going to have to add a lot of texture, and I wanted it to look as if it has been painted and used and loved over time, just like I do with a lot of my pieces. I continued to dab on or stipple the paint with my blending brush. You could use any brush. The effect just makes it really different. Because DIY paint is clay based, there's automatic texture, and when I stipple it on, it just enhances the texture of the clay. I use the same colors: Cowgirl Coral, Kissing Booth, Summer Crush, Carnival Red, and I just blended them together with the brush as I stippled on the paint. And I also continue to mix in a little bit of the weathered wood and the black velvet on the top layer. I'm using the same exact colors as I did on the first coat, but as you can see, I'm getting a totally different look. I'm using magic paint, guys. It's amazing. When the inside of the drawers are really stained and nasty, I like to use Dark and Decrepit as a stain to cover it up. It just smooths it out and makes the drawers a little bit darker, and it just makes it look better. This is a layered look, so I added a little bit more pink. I wanted it to look worn and beautiful and aged over time. I still wasn't feeling it, so I did a sort of whitewash. I used faded burlap, watered down, and I applied it, and then I took it off with a rag. I sealed it with Big Top. I also used parts of the Japonica IOD transfer. But I'm part of the Turquoise Iris Creative Connection by Dion Woods. And she challenged us this month, as she does every month. And this month we had to put one word or a phrase that means something to us on a piece of art. And honestly, at first, immediately, I thought, fearfully and wonderfully made. I used Kind As Regards stamp from Iron Orchid Design because I wanted more texture. I wanted layers and layers of texture. And then I did something I've never done before. I actually used Dark and Decrepit on top of the Big Top as a glaze. Normally, I use dark or black wax. I really loved using Dark and Decrepit in this way. There's so many people that don't know that they were made by God and that they were fearfully and wonderfully made, and He doesn't make junk. This is a vanity, and I want some woman, some girl to sit here as they're putting their makeup on and they're getting dressed to know that they are fearfully and wonderfully made, to be a constant reminder. Well, I did it and I hated it. I used the IOD typesetting to create it right here on the top, and I just did not like the way that it turned out. So I was torn. I didn't know what to do, and I left it there. I sanded it down. I left it. I just stared at it, and it just wasn't sitting right with me. I had my husband look at it, and he was like, "Are you gonna leave the top like that?" I was like, dang, okay. And I sealed it, and then I thought, faith. And then I put it right here. And you know, we all have faith, and sometimes we all struggle with faith. What is faith? But don't we all have faith that when we get in our car, we're gonna make it to our destination? That when we go over a bridge, we're gonna get to the other side? There's all kinds of levels of faith. And my faith is that I have faith in God and Jesus, that He's got me in the palm of His hand. Have faith. You're gonna be okay. This too shall pass. You're gonna be stronger for it. You're gonna be better for it. Whatever it is, have faith. And it's unique. It's different. Because, again, the theme was we're fearfully and wonderfully made. God makes us uniquely. And I didn't want it to be like any other piece. And I love the way that it turned out. And so I hope that you get inspired by this video to be the masterpiece that you were created to be. So I hope that you have a very great day. All of the products that I used today can be found on my website, chalkitupwithleesa.com. You can also visit my website and subscribe to my emails. I would love to connect with you.